Y'a plus de sentiments mou. Pour tous mes frères qui sont posés d'aplomb. Nous les studios, faut dégager les loups. Les sons de fou pour ambiancer les loups.
Salut tout le monde, c'est Gab Morrison, on est à San Diego ici. On est là pour un interview d'un joueur de rugby qui fait partie de l'équipe de rugby des États-Unis. C'est Mike Teo. Il est là avec nous donc je vais pouvoir le laisser se présenter.
Hi, my name is Mike Teo. I'm from Long Beach, California, and I play for San Diego Pro Rugby and USA Rugby.
Alors, est-ce que tu peux nous en dire plus concernant ta dernière saison avec les San Diego Breakers?
Playing for San Diego Breakers last season, we started out good because it's our first year. Every home game we nearly won, and the last 7 games we lost. Even though it's the first year, we came 3rd place in the whole league out of 5 teams. So San Diego Breakers, it was a good start-up year, and hopefully we can come back strong next year.
Alors, tu as joué aussi pour l'équipe de rugby à 7 des États-Unis aux Jeux panaméricains 2015. Alors, est-ce que tu peux nous en parler un peu?
USA Sevens, we played in the Pan American Games in Toronto, Canada, 2015, and we got 3rd place. It was a good experience. We played all like the best teams from the Americas, and yeah, we lost to Canada, the home team, in the semifinal. So we ended up playing Chile in 3rd place, and we won bronze. So it was a good experience seeing all the different athletes, the future Olympians. Oh yeah, it was a good tournament.
Alors aussi, tu fais partie de l'équipe de rugby à 15 des États-Unis depuis cette année. Alors quel a été ton ressenti lorsque tu as été sélectionné?
Earlier this year, I transferred from 7s to 15s for USA, and it was just a good opportunity for me, for myself, and to increase my game. I got called up for the ARCs in February or January, and then from there I've been part of the USA 15 setup, and it's been great. I got 3 starts so far, and hopefully I get some more later this year.
Et alors justement, est-ce qu'on peut espérer te voir à la Coupe du Monde 2019 au Japon?
That's the goal, so that's what I'm aiming for, what I'm training for. So 2016 now, I got 3 years to build up towards it, and hopefully I start getting more caps, more tests under my belt, and I'll be ready to go come Rugby World Cup 2019.
Pour les Jeux Olympiques qui arrivent prochainement, pour la première fois depuis 1924, il y a du rugby à 7. Alors qu'est-ce que tu espères voir dans cette compétition?
1924, that was the last Olympics for rugby in the Olympics. This year, the boys they made it to Rio, I think a couple days ago, getting ready for their tournament. And it's just a great tournament. Sevens rugby is it's fast, it's exciting, there's a lot of scoring, a lot of hits. So hopefully the whole population of the world will see how fun the sport is, and they will jump on board, and rugby will increase in popularity.
Alors sinon, que penses-tu du rugby en France?
I played rugby in France at the Junior World Cup, I believe in 2013, and I thought it was one of the best experiences of my life, playing the top teams, and also club rugby in France is that's what most people in America or outside of France want to play in, getting a contract and competing against the best they have, because the French flair, everyone knows the French flair, and yeah, playing against the French team, 7s and 15s, it was just a great experience, and they are a very tough, very good team.
Alors tu as aussi des origines samoanes, qu'est-ce que tu penses justement du rugby au Samoa?
The Pacific Islands, there's always good rugby. Growing up, I'm Samoan, and my father played, my uncles played, and the rugby in Samoa, it's tough, but I know there's a lot of New Zealand influence because most Samoans grew up in New Zealand as well. So, I don't know, I've always wanted to play for Samoa. That would be a true honor to represent my grandfather's country. But I got the opportunity to play for USA, and I'm just running with it, so yeah.
Alors est-ce que tu penses un jour rejoindre un club européen?
Oh, I would hope to join a European club one day, either this year or next year, because I'm 23 years old, hopefully gonna increase my game, increase my skills, get coached by different coaches, and play with different players, and just build that experience. So European club would be a blessing if I'm able to play for them.
Alors le rugby c'est assez méconnu aux États-Unis. Que pensent les Américains du rugby?
A lot of Americans, they don't know it, but it is the fastest growing team sport in the world, in the country right now. So once people watch it on the Olympics, and they'll see how fun and exciting, my family members that don't really know rugby, they watch it, they support me, and they love it.
Et pour la dernière question, est-ce que tu as d'autres sports préférés?
My favorite sport besides rugby is American football.
Okay.
It's just fun, exciting, and it's a #1 sport in America, so we have to watch it. Go San Francisco 49ers.
Bon bah c'est la fin de l'interview. On espère te voir à la Coupe du Monde 2019 de rugby avec les États-Unis. Et merci à toi, thank you to you for your participation. And, à la prochaine tout le monde. Salut tout le monde, c'est Gab Morrison. On est toujours à San Diego pour une interview de sportif avec le footballeur Duash Jok qui vient du Sud-Soudan. Il joue ici à San Diego. Alors je vais le laisser se présenter.
Hi, my name is Duash Jok. I'm a center back for the South Sudan national team and also a center back for the North County Battalion in San Diego.
Alors la deuxième question, pourquoi as-tu quitté Orange Blue FC pour le North County Battalion?
It was basically a choice that I had to make based on my career. It was the best possible personal choice. Things didn't work out. You know, it happens, it's football, and so I had to move on with my career. So that's why I left the OC Blues.
Alors tu fais partie de l'équipe du Sud-Soudan de foot. Alors est-ce que tu as joué pour les qualifications à la Coupe d'Afrique 2017?
Yes, I have. I played 2 of those games. It was against Benin, and we have the last one coming up next month in September against Equatorial Guinea. So we won't be qualifying as we are 3rd in our group, but we still got that last game to play, the qualifications.
Que penses-tu du parcours du Sud-Soudan lors des qualifications? Est-ce que tu penses que ton équipe peut se qualifier pour la phase finale de la compétition?
Yes, obviously it's difficult for this year's qualification for next year's games, but I'm pretty confident next qualification for the next 2019 we have a good chance of making it because we will be more experienced players, better organization, and so it's very possible for us to make it. And we could have made it this year. Just, you know, football, sometimes it doesn't go your direction, and so that's the reason why we're not going to make it this year.
Alors l'équipe du Sud-Soudan a battu la Guinée équatoriale justement, et c'est une bonne équipe quand même au sein de l'Afrique. Alors qu'est-ce que tu as pensé de ce match?
This was huge, this was massive. This was our first victory as an African Nations qualification and as a part of CAF football. And so it was amazing to get that result, especially at home in front of your fans. Getting that win is very historical, and it meant a lot to not only the players, but the country as well. And so it was a very big achievement, and that's the team we're actually playing again for the last game. So that's very interesting and see how that will turn out. But they are a very, very good team. Experienced players like Marcelo that used to play for Real Madrid back in the days, and so it was a very hard game that we came out with the result. It's an amazing feeling to get a win.
Le pays du Sud-Soudan a beaucoup de problèmes, comme les guerres civiles, tout ça. Alors est-ce que tu penses que sans ça, le football pourrait se développer et avoir de bons joueurs et une bonne équipe?
Yes, most definitely. Obviously the issue that's going on, the civil war, is stopping a lot of players from traveling. It's stopping the organization themselves from going out and reaching out to players that are in different part of the country because they just can't get to it. It's not safe enough. Once everything settles down and we find peace as a nation, I think we will be able to have a lot of players actually come, and we would be a better team. And we have players playing in Europe. We have Ponya Sisto and Awer Mabil playing for some of the top teams in Europe. And so once that settles down, they might be able to change their minds and come back and play for the national team. So yeah, I'm very confident we're just going to get better.
Concernant ton club, et quelles sont les meilleures équipes de ta catégorie selon toi?
During our conference, I thought Kudos was a good team. They always give us a good game. It was always a very close game. It's a good battle. Albion obviously was our rivals, and so you live for those games when you play against your rival team or a derby. And so those 2 teams to me stood out in our conference, and we played some pretty good games with those teams and against them. And results went both ways.
Autre question, comment est considéré un peu le système universitaire sportif aux États-Unis? Alors est-ce que c'est une voie vers le professionnalisme ou alors est-ce que ça doit mener à un autre genre de centre de formation, contrairement en Europe où il faut avoir un centre de formation pour décoller dans une carrière pro?
Yeah. No, definitely it's different in the US, the way football is set up, because football itself is just barely grown in the US. It's just getting bigger, and now it's even bigger than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And a couple years ago, that college system was the way to get into the pros. You'd go play 2, 3, 4 years of a good Division I college, and coaches would look at you, and that would be your way to the MLS. And they would have a combine, invite the best players from college, and they would get drafted. and that was the system of going to the professionals. Now they have an academy system that's set up each club. Most of the clubs have academy systems, and so that's another way, like the Europeans do it. And so you basically breed these kids, you grow them to the system, and they're able to sign pro contracts at 16, just like it is in Europe. And you know that football itself came a long way here in the U.S. I remember clearly when I was in college, and the only way to get to the pros is either to go to open tryout, 500 people, or you go to college, a D1, D2 NCAA college, and make a name for yourself, and then you could be out there and get known. So the system is a little different.
Ok, la dernière question est est-ce que tu as d'autres sports préférés?
I picked up basketball when I moved to the US. Played basketball, so I really enjoyed playing basketball. I am tall, so every time people see me, they think I'm a basketball player right away. They would never get a soccer player. I do play basketball. I ran a little track. You know, those are the sports that I enjoy besides playing soccer. So.
Ok, bah c'est la fin de l'interview. Je remercie Josh Jog pour sa participation. Thank you for your participation. Et du coup, on se retrouve la prochaine fois pour un nouvel interview. Salut à tous. En attendant, vous pouvez mettre un j'aime à la vidéo, commenter, vous abonner. Et on se retrouve une prochaine fois dans un autre pays sûrement pour un autre interview. Salut à tous.